I have always been very passionate about animal welfare, animal rights, animal rescue. So I came here and I got involved in my spare time with Tony, the dog father. And I essentially just kind of took everything over and picked up where Tony had left off. I put together a board. I am also the chairwoman of the board. We created partnerships with worldwide adoption agencies. And I also made an effort to get to know other organizations because I felt like there was a lot of people kind of polarized and working in the same direction but like separately. So I got to know AITCO and Sheikh Marwa, and I got to know Bahrain Strays and all these people that have, play a very important role within the community here. My most important aspect of this place is to get them adopted out of the shelter and preferably out of the country, because I've learned very quickly of the rising number of dogs here on a small island, and generally speaking, I want to try and help reduce the population, not add to it. So our main focus really is to adopt them out of here, because it's the most rewarding part of doing this work. Recently, we took in so many pit bulls. It was like somebody had just dumped so many of them all at once. And they were coming in in droves, So many of the pit bulls that we have taken in have come in with ears torn off, tails torn off. For me, I just got very angry because I just saw these poor dogs coming in and the state that they were arriving in, and all because of a sport. It was just, it drove me into a state of where I had to just speak up and do something. Bear in mind, in a shelter where we usually try and maybe pair dogs in kennels, or even sometimes there's 3 if it's a large kennel, some pit bulls, because of the fact that they've been bred in a way that they have something inside, a fighting, a nature that they might attack another dog, because that's what they've been taught to do. We have to isolate them in individual kennels, and that makes it very difficult for us in terms of space as a shelter. The attitude of some people is just horrendous. To place such little value on a living, breathing thing is just not something that I don't think should be in any way taught to children here, for example. If that's the kind of message you're going to send to young children, then how are they going to grow up, I've seen posts of people admitting to pouring hot oil on dogs in the streets. There's a guy just now that's killing dogs in Ascar. They're breeding these dogs specifically to use them in fights. There's also the same problem where racing dogs are bred specifically as racing dogs. That's it. They race them, and then they didn't want them anymore. They just discard these dogs like they have no value, no nothing, no worth, no soul, no heart, nothing. And then we as an organization are the ones that pick up the pieces, and we value their lives enough to take them in and look after them and find them a life that's worth living. So many people, I don't think, have any clue about the thousands of dogs roaming around in Ascar every day, and about the people out there who are keeping them alive and feeding them and caring for them. These dogs were coming in the most horrific states. So we all said, we have to do something about this and make a stand. So we started the petition, and the petition very quickly grew momentum, and now it's something around 7,500 signatures. And, I'm all for people coming together and having a united front, So all these people who've signed the petition are all behind our efforts as an organization. And once I get enough signatures together, I will hand them in, and then we can actually start to look and see, okay, look, all of these people want to see this change. We have to act. And hopefully then we can go down and we can shut down breeders. There's a huge fight here that needs to be fought, and this is kind of, where do you start? Well, you start somewhere, And I think something like that, a blood sport, it's so archaic, it's so barbaric, it doesn't need to exist. Obviously there is some form of a law that exists here, but it's definitely not enforced at all. It's not, the repercussions for such an act are not, they're not high enough, they're not strong enough, they're not, like, people are not afraid of the consequences of doing these things. There is maybe a law, but it is not enforced. So the petition is a place to start, where we've gathered in 7,500 signatures. People are supportive of the cause. They want to see the change. And hopefully then we can also, include these people in any other places or any other areas of change that we decide to tackle. So, and on a larger scale, we want to look at many areas of concern, and we want to bring in the Humane Society, which is a global enterprise doing work all over the world. UN affiliation, very well respected organization. They're going to come here to Bahrain to talk about, first of all, legislative changes, to bring it up to a standard, a global standard, and also to enforce tougher penalties. And then also to look at the stray dog population, the street dog population, and to try and basically prevent an epidemic of 500 new dogs being born in this country every month now. So we are inviting them into Bahrain to deal with those two sort of areas of concern. Raising awareness is key. Education, it's so important to educate young people and change this kind of perception that there's, these dogs, especially breeds like pit bulls, are gonna, hurt you in any way. It's all about how you bring them up, what you teach them. It's the same thing with children, The shelter always needs people. It always needs people, volunteers. It always needs people to help fundraise. That's a big issue. A shelter like this with like 400 population of animals with no government funding whatsoever, running entirely on donations, it needs great effort to raise money. And to treat it like it belongs to Bahrain, like treat it like it's part of our community, which it is. And come here and spend time. Come here, see it, spend time. I wholeheartedly believe that you don't turn a blind eye to these things. You have to become aware of what's going on in your world. You can't just turn a blind eye and pretend that it doesn't exist. So come here and see it and open up to the idea that you can actually bond with these dogs and these cats, Everybody that I know who has animals, pets, only ever finds nothing but joy, and they don't talk back, they don't argue with you, they don't treat you bad, they don't do anything like that. It's pure and utter unconditional love. That's all that is. Trusting, loyal, would throw themselves in front of a car if they could save your life. You have to show some respect also for other things that are living and breathing in this planet, So come here and see the place, and even volunteering is such a great thing to do, as a person. It makes you feel so much more like fulfilled, to come and just give something back, and to come and do that where animals is concerned, is that you're helping these animals that have no way of speaking out for themselves, So they're completely defenseless and absolutely dependent on how we treat them. So that's a great privilege to have that power. You have to use it in the right way, So I honestly can't tell people enough how amazing it is when you've raised a puppy or a dog and you have a connection with them, and then you see them go to their new home and they have all these little things that just literally just make their entire world. They have a bed and a loving family and a nice fire to sit in front of, and they can run around in fields and all these things. Honestly, you can't buy that type of satisfaction. That it's so rewarding as a human being to be able to someone's life